Hey, this is Isar with UX in Motion, and I'm going to show you how to animate a 3D card in After Effects. Okay, so why a 3D card? Well, I was on my phone the other day, and I was looking at this the Stanford app for Stanford Healthcare, where I go to the doctor, and I tapped on something, and there was this kind of ridiculous but yet most common mistake that people make, transition. So I quickly did a video screenshot, and then I pulled the stills, brought it into Photoshop, cut it out, and made this tutorial for you really, really quick so you could see how to do this and how to not only how to build it the right way, but how to think correctly and how to solve problems. That's really what I want you to be doing, is not just using the tools, but also thinking through as you're designing digital products and creating better solutions. So let's get to it. So here's the screen capture that I grabbed. And what happened was I tapped in this region here, and I'll just play it through, and it just does this thing. And I know most people probably wouldn't notice this, but because it's my job, because I obsess over this stuff, I obviously notice this stuff. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is when they make a single motion, they break it into two parts, which is always a mistake. So in this part, there's the flip, and then there's the zoom. Really, they should happen together. So again, I'll just play this through. That's what it does. Here's my solution. You just tap it and you get to the action, right? So a lot of the times, and I'll even go to like professional product design places and do workshops. For example, one at Salesforce, they did the exact same thing. No, sorry, that was with Oracle. I actually did one with Salesforce, different project, but I actually went to one with like Oracle. I trained their team, and they showed me a project that they're working on, exact same thing. I gave them the exact same advice, which was, look, you want people to get to what they want to get to. You're not trying to show them a cool thing. You just want to help them get to what they want to do. So when you break it up into a flip, it just locks people out of the like interaction. This is one of the reasons it's not so great. It takes something that could be very small and quick and crisp, it extends it out over a long period of time, and then it basically locks them out while this movie's playing. So you just want it to be very, very crisp and clean and fast. There's a couple small challenges here, and I'll show you how to just set this up really, really quickly and put on a light. So here's the project in After Effects. I'll just show you really quick, and then we'll build it. But you can see it's just a couple keyframes and some parroting. Super, super simple. And you can click and download the project source file. Don't forget to do that. I'll have the link down above and maybe the card up there too. Whatever, just click that. It'll take you to a page, and then you can click and download it and use it and follow along. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm just going to show you what I did really quick, which was let's see here, and I made this card here. So here's the PSD. I'll just show you what I did. I just literally did a video screenshot of the app, and then I took the screens here. So this was the A state with this frame, and I cut this out and I put it on a new layer. The B state is here. That's all I did, and then just made this white back here. That's all I did. Pretty simple stuff. Okay, so then in After Effects, I open it up. I'll just delete all this stuff, start again, import, and you'll have all these files. So here's, so we're gonna go to the footage here, import this, make sure we do file composition, retain layer sizes. And if you haven't watched, if like you can't follow along and you wanna learn UI like animation with After Effects, I have a free fast start video course. You can click the link here. Maybe there's a card that'll pop up here now. And then maybe it's over there. I don't know. I'm not very good at the pointing thing yet. And you can just put in your email, and I'll send you a free Fast Start After Effects UI animation course so you can get on board with what I'm talking about. In any case, you do File Import or Command I. Always good options. You can go under File Import here. You can also double click in this project window, or you can control click. Lots of ways to do this. Anyway, double click your composition, and because I showed you in Photoshop what we're dealing with, it's really simple here. There's just the background. We can even lock that if we want, because we're not going to touch it. And then we just have our A state and our B state. Now here's what I want you to think about. Essentially what we're doing is we're just making these layers 3D, so we are going to be working with actual 3D. We're going to be rotating, scaling, and moving the position. Now I only want to do this once, and because it's a card with two sides, I only have to like animate this once and then parent it. So it doesn't really matter if you start with the the B state here, like the full B state, or if you want to just work on this little card right here. It doesn't matter which keyframes you want to work with. Honestly, I did it with the B state because I just felt it was, because it goes full screen, it was a little easier to work with. So we're going to do that. So we'll do that. So I make sure I'm working at 60 frames a second. So you can hit Command K, make sure your frame rate's set to 60, always a good thing. If it's set to this right now, which makes it hard to work, you can just control click. I'm not going to obsess about timing in this one, so I'm just going to block out really, really fast numbers here. So I'm going to jump over 30 frames, and I'm hitting Command Shift right arrow from the keyboard, so it jumps to frame 30. And I'm just going to start here. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to ignore this A layer for now. I'm just going to work on the B layer, and I'm just going to make them both 3D. So there's a little this little shape right here. If you click that, it makes your layer 3D, which is awesome. Then I'm going to hit Option, Scale, Position, and Rotate, but I'm not sure which one yet. So I'm going to hit R on the keyboard, and I'm not going to be messing with this orientation property here. This is a weird logical thing for like After Effects, where you have essentially the rotation is in two different places, and I'll show you kind of why it's weird to use this one up here sometimes. So yes, I could just click this middle property because that's what I want to be doing. However, I actually want to be using the Y rotation property. And the reason is because it gives you negative values here. You can't do it up here. I'm not sure why. You just can't put in negative values, but you can down here. There's a minus sign, and that'll change which direction you want to go. And we do want to go the negative direction. So I'm going to type in negative 180 here. In fact, I don't even have to do that. I can just have it be 0 for now. But that's what I want, so I can control which angle it goes to. With this option up here, I don't have that option. It's just whatever you default to, whatever this defaults to. Okay, so I'm going to put down this Y rotation here, and I know it's going to end up here, but I'm actually going to be working backwards, so it's a little bit weird, but this is just the way we're doing it today. So I'm going to type in negative 180 here. All I'm doing is I created a first keyframe where it's 0, which is how it's going to start, and then it's going to end here. We know that we want to end with readable type, not backwards type. So that's always going to be 0, because that's the default. But then it's going to be coming backwards. So that's how we're going to set it up, which is fine. So I like to work with a style that I call block and time, meaning that I typically block out the keyframes. I'm just building them. I don't care where they go on the timeline, and then I start to massage them back into a time place that works for me. In this case, I'm just going to work with like 30 frames out for this transition. So again, boom, 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 Command Shift right arrow, 30 frames. Okay, so now I know that this is going to happen here and here. If I hit U on the keyboard, we'll see that we already have the position and scale. I'm just going to copy, then hit K on the keyboard and hit paste. So Command C and then Command V. You just click and drag to select them. And then J and K toggles you between the keyframes. Really, really important keyboard shortcut. Okay, so then we know that it's going to start here, and it's going to rotate and come down here. So now let's scale it down and position it. I'm just going to turn this layer on for reference. And all I'm going to do is hold down Shift as I click and drag this thing here. And you can see that down here it's actually changing the scale property. I'm going to drag it. I'm going to zoom in. And it's just going to scale around this anchor point. It doesn't have to be perfect here. We're just kind of proving this out. Okay, so I've changed the position, scale, rotation. So this thing's basically blocked out now. Looks like crap if I play it back. And I'm closing the work like area here. You can hit N on the keyboard for end, and that'll just preview this selection in time. This obviously looks terrible because I haven't eased it whatsoever, which is not great. But now what I can do is I'm going to apply a velocity curve to here. And I'm just going to put on a simple one like cubic out. So I'm using the flow plugin, which is the one that I use to manage my velocity curves. It makes everything just one click. It's super, super great. I'll do a tutorial on this at some point, but just know that it's the flow plugin. I'll include that in the link. I don't get paid from these guys at all. They just literally make the best plugin you can possibly use to do this stuff. So I'm just going to double click that after selecting these keyframes, hit spacebar again. Okay, now that's much better timing. And again, I'm not obsessing about timing here. If this was a real project, I'd do like 30 versions of just dialing the timing. We're just building right now, but we're doing it in a way that looks good enough to be presented. Okay, cool. So I did that. Now let's parent up this layer here, this A layer. So because I love parenting when I'm doing UI animation projects, because it means I get to work with less keyframes. Most motion graphics designers just blast out keyframes everywhere. When you're doing UX, UI projects, you want as few keyframes as possible because you're constantly making little tweaks and you have teams and you need to build these really responsively. So I'm going to make sure that my playback head is over here when I start the parenting, because the parenting starts when the thing starts. So for example, I'll like show you the wrong way. So if I grab the little pick whip, this is the parent column here. If I grab this and I parent it to this B layer here, you'll see that it just doesn't work right. So I'm going to undo that. And you'll see that if I was to parent it here, for example, I'd be like, you started said I should parent, so I'm going to parent here. Now it's in this like super weird spot, which could be like awesome if you wanted to look at like the custom view and then like orbit that. And you're like, oh, I did this awesome weird 3D thing with one click. But yeah, we're not going to do that. So we're going to undo that. And we're going to go back here. And we'll go back to our active camera. And you're like, dude, what just happened here? Okay, we're all good here. Make sure the easing is still there. Looks like I undid the easing too far. So I'm going to see I just totally got excited and then I just ruined everything. All right, I'm going to reselect my keyframes, hit flow, close my work area. All right, we're back on track. Now I'm going to show you the parenting again for real. I'm not going to quit messing around with you. All right, so now we're just going to grab it here while my playback head is here, because you can see this is where we're going to start. And now it'll grab it and be perfect. Now the only thing we have to do left really to build this is to just trim these layers so that it creates the illusion that when the card flips, it starts on one side and then the other side shows the other content. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through frame by frame, and when it gets to, so you'll notice that when it's here, we just want to be looking at the orange side, right? Because it hasn't rotated yet. Just orange, orange, orange. Boom. That's where we want it to cut. So I'm going to trim this layer off so that it only starts here. And that is Option left brackets. Left and right bracket will trim. So now I don't want to see the orange here. So let me go down here. Command down arrow will move your selection one layer down. And I'm going to go Option right brackets. That's going to trim it out. And what you'll see is that you actually, there's a one frame difference. So I'll actually back off a frame and then trim off that other frame. So now it's just those two things. And let me play that through again. Boom. Play that full screen for you. Okay, so now we've made a seamless transition. And again, here's a couple things to keep in mind. Make your layers 3D first, then activate your scale, position, rotation keyframes, and then work on one of those layers at once. When you get it right, when you get the timing right, then you can parent the next one and then trim those layers to finish off the effect there. That's really, really important. What will happen is if you don't ease it and get the timing first and then trim it, when you add the velocity curve, it changes that point in time where it flips, where it's dead on, and then when you add the curve, you'll have to retrim it to a different place. So you just have to get the timing first and then trim it, and that's how you do it. So I just quickly wanted to show you this. I just woke up this morning and I just screen captured this stuff because I thought it was really cool. So I hope you got some value from this and you learned a couple new things. Oh, let's do this too. Sorry, I get so excited. Let's do a light here. Let's throw on a quick light. So if you control click down in your timeline and go to new light, here's what I recommend. So lighting is just a can of worms. Lighting, meaning that if you want to customize your lighting, you're more than welcome to do that. I find that for UX, UI projects in After Effects, just put on a parallel light. It's just a flat light, and then where it goes, it's just the default's good. Just don't mess with it. So what this looks like is I just hit OK, and then what will happen is it now adds this shading here, and it's basically flat. You can see how there isn't really gradations. There's like maybe a little bit here, but it's hard to tell if that's an illusion. But it's basically a very, very flat light, and this is how engineers will build your products out. So the other lights, you can do like cool fall off and create cool shadows and stuff, but honestly, if you just want to show this, I would put on a parallel light and then you're done, and it just shows that nice, the nice depth. And you can see on the actual product here, the Stanford product, they actually have that. I mean, this is basically a parallel light. It's doing the same thing, and they might have rotated the other way. I don't know. But if you want to rotate the other way, like this is what's great is you can just duplicate this, and I'll hit, rotate other way. And now I have two versions that I can show my team, right? So I start off here, and we're at the rotation is 180. If I just literally delete this, guess what? We have this whole thing here, and I guess it sort of broke it. That's kind of cool. Let me just reapply this. Okay. So now it rotates the other way. And you can literally then, this is how you do multiple versioning in After Effects really, really quickly, is you can just duplicate it, change that one little thing, and all of a sudden you have a completely different concept that you can show your team and start to make better decisions around and make better products. So thanks again for watching. Don't forget to click the link to download the tutorials so you can follow along. And don't forget to hit subscribe too. I mean, if you like this stuff, I'm going to keep on sharing it. All right, thanks so much. I'll see you later. Bye.